Hello and welcome to our Real Talk session. And I have with me Clim Pacheco. Hi, Clim.
Hello, Singrid. How are you doing?
Good. Really great to have you here. You are an inspirational speaker, a transformation leader, and you are the author of Dare to be Different, Dare to be You, a visionary framework for designing a fulfilling, future ready life. Now, you have decades of experience in various different areas. One of the steps in your life has been not to stay with just one thing. And you have developed a really interesting model called, or how you call it, 3 plus 1 plus 1 equals 10. I would love to hear about your life, your model, and what you have to share. Take it away, Clem.
Thank you, Singrid. Yeah, one of the exciting things about life is the ability or the need or want to stretch oneself beyond one's capabilities with a vision to do better for the world. And I started very early in life because at the age of 9, my dad took me to the source of the River Nile, and it was 100 years to the day John Hanning Speke discovered the source of the River Nile at Lake Victoria. This was in Uganda, and my dad put his arm on my shoulder and said, "Clem, dream your life." And I thought it was strange, a 9-year-old dreaming one's life when one's very happy. But I did go with it. And I said the first thing I would be is a hydro engineer. Now, you might think a 9-year-old talking about hydro power. The reason was because my dad had influenced another very good friend to become a hydro engineer, and my dad used to take me to this hydropower station, and I loved just the power of water, dams, civil, everything else. And I said to myself one day, I would love to be like him, and that was my first dream. The
Mm.
second dream I had was one day I'll go to the other end of the Nile. I didn't even know Egypt. I didn't know anything about it. But these were like as if I was setting many goals, which at that time might have been insurmountable. But those goals actually sort of evolved over my life over the next 28 years because 14 years later, the first job I took in India, because I was born in Uganda, I went to India. The first job I took was as a hydro engineer. So I'd fulfilled that first dream. And a few years later, when I was over in the Arabian Gulf, on the way back from Canada, I decided to stop in Egypt and went to the other end of the Nile. I was 28, and I think 28 is a time in life when you really think about what have you done so far and arguably what do you want to do. So I said to myself, maybe I'll dream my whole life. And I said, by 30, I'll give up engineering and get into management and leadership because very many people who I used to work with as on projects used to say, Clem, you're a great engineer, but I think you'd be a better manager and leader. And you should think about it. And that's one of the reasons I came to Australia because I thought too many people overseas knew me as an engineer. And there's a mindset, if you're an engineer, you're nothing else. So I said, no, I've got to go to Australia. And that's how I came to Australia. So I said the 30 dream started then because I changed over to management and leadership. And at 45, I was an executive in Victoria, in Transport Victoria, and head of the infrastructure division of the whole state. And as I was approaching 45, I said, okay, what's next? And I knew that I had to do something which would help others. My my learnings in management and leadership with all the challenges that we had, whether it was political, whether it was union related, whether it was technical related, made me say, maybe I got to teach. And so I started out as a teacher, a very low down teacher. When I say low down, it was only because I had to step right down to a sessional teacher and start again. Within a year, I was head of management and leadership in 6 TAFEs. And we developed a program that went across 65 companies in Australia. And I led that and enjoyed it very much. But I also knew that I had more in me, and the time was to say what next. So I thought with education, I'd gone Australia-wide. I said, why don't I stop my career or end my career in a global position? So I thought of moving into risk management, and I joined insurance and finance because insurance has a lot of risk management principles.
Mm.
Over there, I decided I wasn't going to go into executive positions, but I'd be quite comfortable being a change leader and change manager. But 2 years later, I accepted the position of executive, and here we were developing insurance training frameworks for countries, Malaysia, China, etc. Did a lot of work in New Zealand, etc. So it started off that 30, 45, 60. As I was approaching 60, I said my last thing was to do whatever I felt like, and I would free fall. And I turned 60 and decided to give it all up and go into my own business and starting my business to be able to help others. And that's what I did. Now, the earning, learning, and giving concept came as a result of my deciding to go into business on my own. I decided that I was going to advocate for a 3-day working week because at the time, this is 2013, and at the time I was reading about I'm an engineer, so technology was part of me. But I started looking at the future. I had not anticipated AI, but I certainly anticipated the displacement of workers in the 40 plus category. A lot of my, compatriots and peers were losing their jobs and unable to find, full-time job. They tried part-time jobs, couldn't get part-time jobs, and then went into a bit of depression. So I said, why don't I develop a model? I had the luxury of deciding my next phase in life at 60. I said, let me advocate for a new model of life, in 2013, and hence evolved the 3-day working, 1-day learning, and 1-day giving model of life, which I call 3 days earning, 1-day learning, and 1-day giving. And that was volunteering. And because this started becoming so excited, I said it's equal to 10 because it was exponential. I felt I was growing in this, and hopefully I was giving to a lot. So the earning, learning, and giving model was the culmination of a dream to be a multi-potentialite. I knew in my mind that I could never stay in one career, not because I didn't want to stay, but because I felt I had much more to offer. And so talking about career changes, I said to myself, I need to also help others to decide whether they should be thinking of moving, whether they want to or not, that's different.
Mm.
And so I evolved yet another model in life, which I call the personal balance sheet. So on the anniversary of every year that I've been working now almost 40 years, from the day I started in India, in Tata's India. On the anniversary of the year, I would take stock. And this was not an analytical thing. It was more a feeling thing. So I'd ask myself the question, is this company an asset to me? Am I an asset to this company? Is this company a liability to me? Am I a liability to me? And when I found that the liability sort of was overcoming the assets mentally, I knew it was time
Mm.
to move. So to make a career change, I realized that it was so important not only to get experiential learning and being a great manager and great leader and all, I realized education was very important. So integral into all the life changes that I've made has been education. It was not enough for me to say, look, because people say I'm good or will be good. In every field that I went, in management, I did my MBA. In education, I did my postgrad studies. In education, in insurance, I did, my financial planning. So I think what I'm trying to say is do not ever get caught in a rut if you believe that
Mm.
that's not where you want to be. And I think many of the other speakers have been talking about, being authentic and being yourself and believing in yourself to be able to go there. So that's where I am at the moment, Sigrid.
It's absolutely fascinating because you really are moving your age timeline with what you have achieved and bringing out into the forefront there, how that's worked for you. I think it is quite unique, Clim. A lot of people will stay in one position, and I think when we have spoken together before, it used to be the norm. You move into one profession position and you stay there all their life. Of course, that has changed a lot
Yeah,
over the years, and we are much more familiar now with changes, also because people are taken out of their job for various reasons. But you have done it consciously, and I just absolutely love the model that you have created there. So, to our theme of I have to make it work for it to work, that's really for you. You are making it work because you want to make it work and come to the next destination. Absolutely love it, Clem. Thank
yeah.
you for sharing that with us.
Thanks, Ingrid. It was lovely to express some views and thoughts.
Lovely to have you here. Thanks, Clem.